There exist phenomena that science has yet to explain. Sounds with no source, stones that move on their own, lights rising from still waters only to vanish into the waiting night, and memories that seem to linger long after death. Are you ready to take the first step into the unknown? Are you ready to enter the strange realm? The Taos Hum, a sound that shouldn't exist. We begin our journey in a small town nestled in the deserts of New Mexico. In the quiet desert town of Taos, New Mexico, something impossible is happening. Since the early 1990s, a growing number of people, ordinary residents, tourists, even scientists, have reported hearing something disturbing. Not a voice, not music, but a low, constant hum. Imagine sitting in your living room late at night when suddenly a deep rumbling sound starts to vibrate through the walls. It doesn't stop, it doesn't fade, it just hums like an invisible engine idling right beneath your skin. Some describe it as a buzzing, others say it's a distant diesel engine that never quite arrives. But here's where it gets strange. Only about 2% of the population can hear it. The rest, nothing. Silence. Those who do hear it often suffer. They can't sleep. Some report anxiety, headaches, even nosebleeds. A few have moved away just to escape the noise. But the hum follows them. Multiple investigations have been launched, from local surveys to full-scale acoustic research projects. They measured radio waves, checked underground for vibrations, even tested psychological profiles. Some blamed it on industrial machinery humming miles away. Others suggested it's the result of low-frequency sound waves bouncing off the landscape in just the right way, forming an auditory illusion that only certain sensitive ears can detect. But nothing conclusive has ever been found. No machine, no sound source, no universal pattern. Even weirder, the same hum has been reported in places like Canada, Australia, and the UK. Different people, different terrain, same eerie drone. Is it a shared hallucination, a worldwide acoustic phenomenon, or is something or someone trying to reach us using a frequency most of us were never meant to hear? One thing is certain, the Taos Hum exists, and science still can't explain why. The walking rocks of Death Valley, nature's silent march. From the silent hums of New Mexico, we travel west to California, where the stones themselves appear to walk. Deep in California's Death Valley, where the landscape is dry, cracked, and seemingly lifeless, something impossible is happening. On the vast, flat stretch known as Racetrack Playa, enormous stones, some weighing hundreds of pounds, move on their own. They leave behind long, winding trails in the hardened mud like silent travelers, dragging a path across the earth. But here's the mystery. No one ever sees them move. These aren't pebbles or twigs blown by the wind. These are heavy, solid rocks, and yet they drift, sometimes in straight lines, sometimes in zigzags, even making sharp turns. Days pass. Weeks. Then one morning, their position has changed, as if the desert itself came alive in the night. For decades, scientists were baffled. Was it the wind? Ice? Earthquakes? Dozens of theories were tested. Some claimed that thin sheets of ice formed beneath the rocks during cold nights, lifting them just enough for the wind to push them across the surface. It sounds reasonable until you realize some of these rocks have traveled over 1,500 feet, and not all of them move at once. Some remain perfectly still, while others glide alone. Then came time-lapse cameras, and yes, they finally caught the rocks in motion, sliding slowly, eerily, silently across the playa. But even with this footage, questions remain. Why do some rocks move and others don't? Why do they move in patterns no wind could explain? And the biggest question of all, why this place and nowhere else on Earth? Some speculate forces we don't fully understand may be at work. Underground vibrations, geomagnetic anomalies, or something more otherworldly. To this day, the Racetrack Playa remains one of nature's most haunting mysteries. No ropes, no footprints, no tricks, just rocks that walk like fairy rings. In the quiet forests and grassy fields, nature paints circles shrouded in legend and mystery. In the heart of ancient forests and across windswept meadows, strange patterns appear overnight. Perfect circles, made of mushrooms, silent, untouched, and unnaturally precise. Locals call them fairy rings. But these are not just botanical curiosities. For centuries, they've been seen as portals to another world, places where the veil between the natural and the supernatural grows dangerously thin. According to European folklore, fairy rings are where elves, sprites, or fairies gather to dance in the moonlight. It's said their feet burn the earth as they spin in circles, leaving behind a ring that no mortal should dare cross. To enter one is to risk madness or to vanish forever. In Celtic tales, those who step into a ring might be transported to the Fey realm, returning days or even years later, aged and broken, unable to explain what happened. In German legends, they're known as Hexenringe, witches' rings, formed by dark rituals or ghostly curses. But step away from myth for a moment. Science has tried to explain these formations. Botanists say the rings are caused by underground networks of fungal mycelium, expanding outward in perfect circles as they deplete the nutrients in the soil. That's why grass inside the ring often dies while mushrooms bloom in a circle around it. But even science admits, not all fairy rings fit this model. Some are too perfect, too fast-growing, or appear in places where the soil shouldn't support them. And in rare cases, they've been known to shift location entirely, overnight. Are they a natural growth pattern, a misinterpreted fungus, or are they what the old stories always claimed, footprints of another realm, left behind as a warning or an invitation? One thing is certain, when you see a perfect circle of mushrooms in the wild, don't step inside. Giant stone spheres in Costa Rica journey now to Central America, where enormous stone spheres defy explanation. Hidden deep within the lush jungles of Costa Rica stand hundreds of ancient stone spheres, perfectly round, mysteriously smooth, and no one knows how or why they were made. Over 300 of these giant stone orbs have been discovered, scattered across the Dicas Delta, buried beneath layers of jungle soil, or standing silently in open fields. As if they were once arranged for a purpose, now lost to time. Some are small enough to hold in your arms, others weigh up to 16 tons, carved with astonishing precision without the help of modern tools. But here's the mystery. Who carved them? When? And for what reason? There are no written records, no surviving tools, no inscriptions, just these cold, silent giants, placed with purpose, but surrounded by silence. Some believe they were created by an ancient and advanced civilization, long lost to history. Others whisper of Atlantean technology or visitors from the stars who taught early humans secrets of geometry and power. Even mainstream archaeologists are puzzled. To carve granite into nearly perfect spheres would require remarkable skill, coordination, and labor. And to transport them without wheels, without cranes across rivers and dense jungle, that alone borders on the impossible. Some scientists theorize the spheres were used for astronomical alignments or sacred rituals. Others think they were symbols of authority, cosmic markers of a civilization that wanted to leave its legacy written in stone. But even after decades of study, none of these theories can fully explain their uniform shape, massive size, or precise placement. And then there's the strangest part. Many of the spheres were deliberately moved and then abandoned, as if someone or something was trying to hide them or protect them from being found. Today, these ancient spheres are protected as national heritage, but their message remains untranslated and their origin unknown. They do not speak, they do not move, but they wait, as if guarding a truth the world was never meant to remember. Baigong pipes on Mount Baigong, China. High upon the desolate slopes of Mount Baigong in a remote region of western China lies an archaeological mystery that has left scientists baffled and conspiracy theorists enthralled. Embedded deep within the rock face are a series of tubular structures, rust-colored pipes, some wide as tree trunks, others no thicker than a pencil. They snake through solid stone, reach deep underground, and some even connect to a nearby saltwater lake. But here's the enigma. These formations are tens of thousands of years old, and yet they appear to have been manufactured. When American and Chinese researchers examined the pipes, they found an unusual composition, about 30% silicon dioxide, calcium oxide, and iron, along with trace elements not typical of natural formations. Even more bizarre, some of the metal in the pipes had oxidized into a substance not found on Earth. How is that possible? The official explanation suggests the pipes might be fossilized tree roots or natural mineral veins. But the geometry, the straightness, the precision, defies this logic. Who or what could have drilled symmetrical metallic tubes into a mountain long before modern tools existed? Ancient astronaut theorists have a bold idea. Could this be the remains of an ancient energy system, or even a launch facility built by an unknown civilization? or something not of this world. Chinese legends speak of sky gods who descended from the heavens in fiery chariots, leaving behind sacred structures. Could the Baigong pipes be one of them? Skeptics laugh, scientists debate, but the truth is, no one has proven anything. No one knows who made the pipes, how or why they lead into the heart of the mountain. They just exist, quiet, motionless, as if waiting to be activated again. Naga Fireballs, the serpent's breath from the Mekong and Kasmagard. Every year, when the monsoon fades and the moon rises over the Mekong River, villagers gather along the banks, staring into the darkness and waiting. Then it begins. Glowing orbs of light, fiery, silent, and unexplainable, rise from the surface of the river. They soar upward, dozens, sometimes hundreds, vanishing into the night sky. No sound, no smoke, just flames, born from water. They call them the Naga Fireballs. And no one knows what they really are. Local folklore tells of the Nagas, mythical serpent beings who dwell in the depths of the Mekong. It is said that once a year they exhale sacred fire into the sky to honor the Buddha. To the villagers, these lights are not strange. They are a divine sign, a tradition older than memory. But to scientists, they are a mystery. Studies have been conducted, measurements taken, hypotheses abound. Methane gas bubbling from the riverbed, phosphine igniting under the right temperature. Some say the lights are simply man-made fireworks launched to deceive the masses. But if it were a trick, why has no one ever found proof? Why are there no launchers, no sounds, no debris? And here's what makes it even stranger. The fireballs appear only in specific regions, on certain nights, and only when ancient festivals are held. Their timing is eerily precise. Their glow, reddish-orange, otherworldly. Witnesses describe them as moving against the wind, rising straight into the air, then vanishing. Photographs, videos, eyewitness reports, thousands of them, year after year. And yet, science still has no definitive answer. Are we witnessing a rare atmospheric phenomenon of a natural event, or something far older, far deeper? The Mekong flows, the fireballs rise, and the Nagas, if they exist, remain unseen. But once a year they remind us that not every mystery can be measured. Some must simply be witnessed and believed. The Pollock Twins Reincarnation Case, Hexham, England, 1957. A quiet Sunday morning turned to tragedy when two young sisters, Joanna, age 11, and Jacqueline, age 6, were killed in a car accident while walking to church. The town mourned. Their parents, Florence and John Pollock, were devastated. But what came next would unsettle even the most hardened skeptic. Exactly 1 year later, Florence gave birth to twin girls, Jillian and Jennifer. But the moment they arrived, something felt off. Jennifer, the younger of the twins, had birthmarks identical to those that Jacqueline had, one on her waist, another across her forehead in the exact same shape and location. As the girls grew, the strangeness intensified. They began requesting toys that belonged to their dead sisters, toys they had never been shown. They would recognize landmarks they had never visited, describe a school they had never attended, and even display phobias that matched their sisters' past traumas. Once, upon passing a car on the street, one of the twins clutched her sister and cried, "That's the car that hit us." John, the father, became convinced. These were not just his new daughters, they were Joanna and Jacqueline, reborn. But how could this be? The family was not involved in any spiritual practices, nor did they seek attention. They kept the story quiet. Until psychologists and researchers began to take interest. Dr. Ian Stevenson, a pioneer in reincarnation research, studied the case closely. He considered it one of the strongest pieces of evidence for reincarnation ever recorded. Of course, skeptics offered other explanations. Perhaps the twins overheard stories. Perhaps the parents unintentionally influenced them. But even then, how do you explain the birthmarks, the precise memories, the emotions? As they grew older, the memories faded, just as they often do in alleged reincarnation cases. But the Pollock twins remain a chilling example of what may lie beyond death. If this is real, what else might we carry from one life to the next? And who might we have been before? If the soul endures beyond the fragile shell of the body, then what stories remain untold, what lives left unfinished, still echo in the shadows of our existence? The Pollock twins remind us that death may not be the end, but a passage to something deeper, a mystery that defies logic and reason. So when you hear whispers from the past, or feel a presence beyond sight, remember this story. Because in the strange realm of life and death, some truths linger, waiting to be remembered again.